Hey there. I did a good afternoon, evening, or whenever you're seeing this, if you're interested. Uh, so I'm doing a follow up live stream video to the one I did yesterday. Yesterday, I analyzed the 14-point plan that Bloomberg had released that they said was the plan as of that point in time. And today, the actual plan was released. So I thought it'd be interesting to compare the two. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to compare the differences, and I'm going to give you my opinion for whatever it's worth as to how that does it make the agreement better, worse, for who, etc. So I'm just going to quickly go through the 14 points and comment both ways. So the first point was that all war was going to stop between everybody. It described in the plan I spoke about yesterday, the pre-final plan, it referenced hostile action. And in the actual plan that was released, it said you're not allowed to initiate any war or any military operation against each other. It also refers, and it doesn't refer to the one from yesterday, that you have to protect the integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. It doesn't say as against whom. It doesn't reference Hezbollah, for example. But it basically says that everything will stop. But the difference is, again, different definition, hostile versus war. I don't know if that makes a difference. It doesn't talk about defensive activities directly. And it adds the one that was the official one, added more protection for Lebanon, the country, I guess, as opposed to the one reference yesterday. So those are the main differences, not like hugely significant, other than it's slightly, I would say it's a little more Iranian-centric in its application to Lebanon, and that's where I'd leave it. Paragraph 2 in both, they're basically the same, although the parties are flipped. So in the one from yesterday, it was Iran and the United States, and today it said the United States and Iran. So it kind of flips the parties throughout. It puts the United States in the first position, and it basically says that they will, in both, not much of any change, they'll both respect the integrity of the others, not interfere in the internal affairs, which is interesting in light of the fact that the way this matter kind of started was the murders in Iran that were commented by the president. And as of today, now that seems to be unimportant. And the people that were targeted seem to be whatever. Doesn't seem like this agreement addresses any of their concerns. In fact, I would guess that all those dissenters, or a good number of them, will now be targeted. Many will be imprisoned and many be killed. And I really think that's a distressing outcome. And the fact that we completely abrogated the issue is a sorry state. That's all. I will leave it at that. I think we should not let them kill their own citizens. We should at least comment. We certainly shouldn't be rewarding that kind of comment. 3, that they, and this is about similar in both, that we're going to negotiate for 60 days subject to an extension. Pretty much the same in both. 4, this one talks about lifting the naval blockade, and the only difference was this one says immediately, and I'm looking at, this is paragraph 4. If you happen to be, when you're watching this, if you have your own copy of today's MOU, we call that a memorandum of understanding, which again in California, unless it was definitive enough, my opinion is it wouldn't be enforceable because you need definitive terms, amongst other things. But it doesn't address, so like the one from yesterday talked about immediately, this one changes slightly, but only in terms of defining where the United States will withdraw its forces. The one from yesterday said surrounding areas, today at proximity, but basically it says immediately upon the signing of this thing, the blockade's lifted and you can go to town. And the impact is that once it's lifted, and it's done immediately, and I guess it says it's going to be restored to a maximum within 30 days maximum, but they can sell their oil, they can ship to wherever they want. So whatever economic crisis existed in Iran will be alleviated once this is done, and they could spend the money on whatever they want. If they want to rebuild their military, they certainly can. And in effect, this is something they've extracted by reason of closing the Strait of Hormuz. You can kind of evaluate it as you choose. That's how I look at it. I don't think that's a good outcome if that was your intention. And the fact that they can kind of restock themselves and buy what they want with the money that we're letting them do or use, that's kind of not a happy thought for me. 5, this is the reverse kind of about that Iran has to let ships get through. And the draft, which I read yesterday, said immediately. And the one from today, the official said, will use its best efforts. So the one from yesterday said they had to do it. The one from today said they have to use their best efforts. But the biggest change is in the one that's the official one, and the one from yesterday made zero reference to this. And I think this is going to be a contentious point. It says that Iran will make arrangements using its best efforts for safe passage of commercial vehicles with no charge for 60 days, which suggests that they may be able to charge thereafter. Now, before this, they were not able to charge at all. So if in fact, through this nonsense, as it's turning out to be, they're able to generate money through the Strait of Hormuz when they weren't able to do that before and use it on whatever means they want, that can't be seen as a victory for the United States. That's a bamboozle win by Iran. It's ridiculous. They shouldn't be allowed to have any access to cash until the final deal is done. Again, a memorandum of understanding, especially this, is an agreement to agree. It's not an enforceable contract. The original contract says you have 60 days to kind of complete it, but both parties can agree to extend it beyond 60 days. What I expect Iran to do is to negotiate this for the next 2 years. And it's, again, I don't think it's very complicated. I think competent negotiators can take apart issues and extend time. And you're not going to be meeting every day. There'll be breaks. So I expect this to go on indefinitely. So and be meaningless. So there won't be an effective ending. They'll just be running out the clock. That's what I expect. And this document is so indefinite not to shorten that or decrease that possibility. But anyway, so Iran will do it to the best of their efforts, and they won't be able to charge for 60 days. So I think that's a bombshell that they will be able to charge, or that we acknowledge or even let it stay in there. That should be not. I think there was a big point made that they shouldn't be able to extort money, but here they are apparently going to extort money, and we allowed it to be in the memorandum of understanding. I think it's disgusting. 6. That we will create the number 6 original one said we will kind of, together with our partners, will create a comprehensive plan for the rehabilitation and economic development of Iran, and will raise at least $300 billion. The mechanism will be formulated later. This one is much more detail, and it basically says that the United States will develop a mutually agreed plan with at least $300 billion for reconstruction and economic development. I think it said rehabilitation in the prior one. This is reconstruction. I don't know if that's broader than rehabilitation. Perhaps it is, because reconstruction might apply to everything. Rehabilitation might be more limited. I don't really know, but that's the way I would see it. And again, it says that this will all be finalized as part of a final deal within 60 days. There ain't going to be any final deal within 60 days, so it's just kind of nonsensical. But it does say that all required licenses, waivers, and permissions needed for the relevant financial transactions will be provided to by the United States. So this seems to be like a complete, victory. I don't know what it costs to rebuild Iran. I don't think. I think they need to take some responsibility for that. They certainly have oil money, so I would hope that some of the money came from oil revenues, I don't know otherwise. But the fact that they are getting a bunch of money makes me concerned, to be quite honest. But that's the major difference, is the kind of the reconstruction, rehabilitation. I don't think it's like significant. 7 is that there's an agreement to, the original was there's an agreement or understanding to limit sanctions, and reading it here, both primary and secondary. And it's pretty short and sweet. And the amended one says basically much more in detail about the resolution of sanctions, and that how important it is that it be discussed, and it's more detailed. So it's a more detailed paragraph than the original paragraph, and refers to an agreed upon schedule, and there's no agreed upon schedule as of now, and the critical importance of sanction relief. So it's much more directed at removing sanctions, protecting the sanction relief against Iran than the original draft. 8, this is the nuclear provision. The original one said they will never produce nuclear weapons. The revised one said they will not procure or develop nuclear weapons. It doesn't say they will never produce nuclear weapons. So it leaves open the possibility that they will produce nuclear weapons. It also references in the new one that they'll be, the way they're kind of going to deal with the nuclear dust, as it's been called, is by downblending, which means they're going to reduce the, if uranium is 60%, they'll reduce it. But here it suggests that they will retain it. And I recall in this new paragraph, it says they'll downblend it, and then there'll be agreements, whatever, but there's no reference to it ever leaving Iran. And part of the whole pitch here was that we would remove the materials. And this paragraph, besides being very vague in terms of what they need to do, because it says the United States of America and Iran have agreed to resolve the disposition of stockpiled enriched material pursuant to a mechanism that will be mutually agreed upon in accordance with the schedule mentioned in paragraph 7, with minimum methodology to be downblending on site under the supervision of the IAEA. Now, the schedule doesn't exist, just reference to a schedule that will exist. And again, downblending is decreasing the octane, basically, of the nuclear material, but there's no reference to ever leaving the country. So do you trust the Iranians to take the nuclear material and not do something with it? Do you trust the IAEA to be sufficiently involved and free to do that? And their reaffirmation of their not going to do nuclear weapons, they've already done that. 1970, even in the Obama treaty, they said they aren't going to make nuclear weapons. So they're not promising anything new, and they're not promising to get rid of the nuclear material. All they're discussing is downblending of the material. It seems like a very vague, again, much more vague, and it's clear that the materials are not going to leave the country, where before it seemed like there was a chance. Here it seems like they're going to stay. So that's the change in the new document. Paragraph 9 is the same, which is that everybody's going to maintain the status quo on the nuclear program, and the United States will not impose new sanctions. Okay, basically the same. 10 is the provision about the termination of sanctions, that in that, and this is like, again, money that they get, but the United States undertakes that immediately upon the signing of the MOU and until the termination of sanctions, there'll be waivers issued so they can sell their oil, which is paragraph 10. And that's about the same. In paragraph 10 from yesterday, it said immediately upon the signing of the memorandum of understanding. And I guess it says the same thing here. So it's basically the same thing. Basically, it means they can get their money now. because they're not barred, and we will facilitate them being able to do that. Paragraph 11, unrestricting funds. The original one stated it was kind of vague about when it would happen. It kind of talked about progress being made, suggested it might be released, immediately, but it didn't specify that. The new one says upon implementation of the MOU. I have no idea what that means, but it says that all the frozen assets, which I guess is $24 billion, will be released upon the implementation of the MOU. I have no idea what it is. I have no idea. Zero idea. Certainly unclear as to what that is. But if it's just the signing of the MOU, that means they don't have to complete it in a deal to get the $24 billion. That would be a bad outcome too, in my opinion. And I don't like the way it's written. Again, the official document, I don't like the way it's written. 12 is the same. That will work hard to implement the deal. 13, it just talks about that everybody will that certain things will happen upon the commencement, not significantly different. And 14 is interesting, slightly different. In 14, in the first version, it's talked about being approved by the UN, and the one from today talks about it being endorsed by a binding UN Security Council resolution. So it's not approved, because I think there might be elements in here that need to be approved by Congress, perhaps, and I'm sure there'll be a fight about that. But those are the 14 points. So basically, I would say the one from yesterday was substantially correct. Some changes, I would say those changes in general more go to the Iranian side, my opinion. And again, I don't think the deal is going to be the MOU is consummated. I don't think we're ever going to get to a final agreement. I think it's just going to be negotiated to death, literally. And I think that was just an exit strategy. We can leave. We can be in negotiations forever. And the people of Iran who walk the streets, who risk their lives, they pay the consequences. Not my favorite resolution. But anyway, I just wanted to compare the two, and I thought it was interesting that they were pretty similar in general, not distinctively different. Anyway, that's it. Have a great night. Be well. Talk to you later. And that's it for tonight. That's it.